people who are online or who are not taking this class, let me do a quick intro. That way, we have a bit of time for those who are logging in. This is what you're here now at, a real class. It's a real finance class. I started my career at Procter & Gamble, and I am now, my day job is a CFO. But once per week, I get to do something that I love, and that is to teach this class. Now, if you're not from the class, or if you're online, you may think that we are actors and actresses. You probably hear, at the Oscars, everyone getting an Oscar from NYU, but that's a different school, right? That's called ISH. This is the SPS, and they're not actors, the people you see. Here, maybe we can start sharing the screen again, and that way I will show them a bit more about how we do it.
Of course.
And if we go to, let me get the clicker. And
this is the clicker right here. Here
you
go.
So let's go to the next. If I can join it from here. You want to go full screen?
I would love to.
There we go. Perfect. Yeah. Now it's working. So oh yes, it's working. Okay. So what they do on the first session in this class is they pick a company, any company they want, as you see on that slide. And they said, we want to pick Apple. So they will be working the whole semester making executive decisions. The first decision that they have to make is, how many people do we need to hire next year at Apple? And this is what Justin, Katrina, Sabrina, and Siggy did about it. And we put all this on our website, which is about it. Now, the next thing that they need to learn, or that they learn, is what do you do if you don't have enough product? And you have many customers who want to buy your products or services. If you think about it, that happened during COVID, and it may happen now. And so they make a decision. Now, what is really interesting when you look at these slides is that, most of the time, they are 50-50, right? So some of them say, let's go for all customers, and others, let's get our new customers to get their business. But during the pandemic, the vast majority of students said, let's give it to our own clients. And I think that's fascinating. Now, this is what she did, right? And she made a proposal saying, look, this is the way that we need to prioritize our clients. Then the other thing that they learned in the class is how much increase prices and when. This is Pepper's recommendation for a 9% increase next year. And she is not in my class. But the other thing that we learned that happened to me working at P&G is what happens when you increase prices and your clients react like that. And they tell you we're picking the products off from the shelves. In fact, last year it happened to Pepsi, this very large retail called Carrefour, right, where they just put out all their products. And so what we learned is how to communicate price increase to clients. And this is how she sent us on. And then at the end of the semester, this is session 12, we bring an executive from that company to tell us about how does she make these decisions in real life. And I'm really, really happy today that we have with us Missy, who's a flagship leader, something like a vice president at Apple. She was mentioning before at Ralph Lauren and Gap and so on. But would you stop sharing for a second? Please.
I've stopped sharing.
You stop sharing the screen. Yeah, so I like to make presentations more at a personal level. And something that to me is remarkable about Missy is that as an executive board member at Madison Avenue, she helps small businesses in New York to learn tips on how to do it, right? Which is what you guys are going to learn today. And in addition to that, as a board member at MIT, the Fashion Institute of Technology, she's helping about 8,000 students to be able to get an education. Some of those students are in this class today. So please join me to welcome Missy Poole. Missy, anything that you would like to say before we start?
Thank you for being here. Thank you for showing up to this. I am so pleased to be here, and I'm honored to be here and to hear what you have to say and what's on your minds. And I learned from you also, and I think that, I'm looking forward to seeing how this conversation goes.
Cool. So the way we do this is that students ask all the questions, right? I will ask only one just to get started and to break the ice. And my question is a bit like, so when we look at Apple, we see that it's a minimalist approach. And I saw that an executive from Tesla was saying at Tesla, we have an Apple store, but we just sell cars. And then doing a bit of research, I noticed that at Apple, the retention rate is like 90%, which is 60% in retail. I learned that Apple trains their people 3 times more than other retailers. And then I read this story that happened a few years ago. So there is this customer. So she, in her 20s, that she goes to an Apple store and she's really disturbed, right? And so she tells the person at Apple that she has lost her phone, and this person's helping her out. And then she tells him that her dad passed away a few days ago, and all of her photos were on the iPhone. And so instead of saying, well, you can go back home and find it, he says, okay, don't worry, I'll help you out. And he helps her recover all the photos. And, her face lights up. But that's not it. Then, he tells her, well, would you like to get an iPhone? She said, problem is that I cannot afford it. And he could have said, well, when you save some money, come back. But that's not what he did. He went to talk to his store manager. And the store manager came and said, don't worry about it, it's on us. So my question to you is, what can retailers learn from Apple?
So I love that story. Thank you for sharing that. It's really special. We deal with we don't give away phones every day, but we do have so many of these stories every single day because technology is so ingrained in people's lives and so much is stored on their devices. And you mentioned the minimalism, and that's absolutely our DNA at Apple. I think from the way the phone is made, if you open up the phone on the inside, you see how clean everything is and the quality that's in there, as well as our stores. We don't carry all the stock on the floor, so we have our team members that are there to engage. And so we do try to keep everything simple and focused. And retail, it's all about who you hire. And I've always been focused on hiring people that love to serve others and kindness and want to get to know people. And so I also think about why Steve Jobs created stores. He created stores to create owners and build loyalty, because we have the Genius Bar and we have what we call the product zone, which is our area where we sell our products, create owners, I should say. And so we want our customers to come back to us if they're having a problem with their device, because we can regain that loyalty. But if you can imagine not being with your phone for an hour, that's pretty unnerving. And also people that didn't grow up with technology, our team members are having to interact with those customers that come in you probably have to teach your parents things, or your parents are probably grew up with technology at this point in my life. Oh my gosh. But imagine teaching your parents or your grandparents actually how to deal with their devices. It could be very frustrating. And so hiring people that want to serve others or have compassion and empathy, patience, perseverance, want to get this resolved for the customer is really important. And so it goes to the questions that we ask in the interview. We also try not to hire in retail where this is their first job, because it's really hard. We have such high velocity in our stores that we have a high expectation. And I think there was something going around where getting hired at Apple is as hard as getting into Stanford. And so because we have very high expectations in our stores and in our company. And so I think that having that foundation of kindness, compassion, empathy is really important to be able to have interactions like this with the customer. And yes, we have specific steps that we teach, that whether it be sales techniques or at the Genius Bar service techniques. And so we do have many ways. We want to offer all options to our customers. We don't want to have to tell the customer what to do. We let them choose. Here are all the options you can. So maybe you can't afford the phone today, but here's another way that you can get into the phone. You can trade in your phone, you can trade in your devices. We have the Apple Card, where it's monthly installments. We have, and you get 3% back. So there's so many ways that we can help. There's also the refurbished program. So there's so many options that customers can be offered, but our team members have to be very knowledgeable.
Mhm.
And then as they get to know the customer, and this is in any retail experience, personalized experience. So people who truly want to get to know the customer and get to know what's on their mind and what's going to be important for them is what's going to be the best way to connect with them and offer the best thing. So if I learn somebody knows on the iPad, knows Procreate on the iPad, I'm not going to talk about Apple Music. I'm going to talk about the Procreate and the options that are for that. Or if somebody that's passionate about coding, I'm going to talk about the coding options that are available through Apple versus taking photographs. So there's so many ways. Really getting to know the customer is when at Ralph Lauren we used to say, how do you want to feel when you go to this event?
Mhm.
When they say I'm looking for a dress for a wedding, well, how do you want to feel? And versus, well, let me show you all the dresses that we have. So it's really important to get to personalize and get to build a trusting relationship with the customer.
That's a great point. How do you want to feel? Yeah. And then you would go next. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So I'll move you that seat so you can take the middle seat. You're fine.
Hello,
Hi.
I'm Annabella.
That was so nice to meet
You too. Firstly, I want to thank you for taking the time to come and speaking with us. So my question is, in your role as flagship leader, what key elements do you believe truly differentiate the Apple Store from other tech retailers?
Yeah, I think that to differentiate from other tech retailers, what we do in our stores is a personal experience. I think we take the time to ask the customer their questions about who they are, how they use their devices, and really just get to know them. We let them experience the devices too. And we just want it to be a wonderful experience when they come into our stores. And I think that it's really humanizing it versus a transaction. And so again, our team members are so passionate about that with our customers. They really take the time to get to know the customers and build this and show them all the options. And so I think, some of the other stores are very experiential. Some of the other tech stores just talk about the experience, which I think is really fun. And we've added some of that to our stores with Apple Vision Pro. I haven't talked about that yet. And so has anybody demoed the Apple Vision Pro?
It's insane. It's insane. It's very
Yeah, if you haven't been, I encourage you to experience that and just walk into a store and ask for a demo, and the innovation that could come out of that is really cool. And so we're really there to enrich lives in our stores. We want to help people uncover their passions. We offer classes and workshops also where customers can learn more about their devices. It's not, my friends tell me that they just use their device for talking, texting, email. Gosh, there's so much more in those devices. And so we also, I think in Apple devices, if you've seen lately, we offer a lot of health options. So that's another thing too, that I think is really important, whether it be the Apple Watch with the heart rate or the hearing aid test now with the AirPods. So it's important that we're educating our customers about that. We also offer small business support in our Apple stores, which nobody would know if they didn't come into our stores. The only way they can find out about it is in our stores. And we offer small businesses to either have a point of contact, or we offer financing, or just a personalized service, and offer support with Apple certified network. So if somebody's looking to build an app, we have somebody we can recommend that is familiar with Apple products. And so all of these services, I think, are what differentiates us from these other tech retailers. Is that, are there things that you're hearing that other tech retailers are doing that?
No, that answers my question. It's just that every time I haven't really gone to other tech stores other than Apple, but I just feel like the Apple store experience is so personalized, and every time I talk to the person that works there, it's like a friend, it's like a conversation, it feels super informal, and I feel really welcomed. So yeah, I feel like it's just really tailored to the customer. Yeah.
I think any retail environment, investing in the team and how you make sure the team feels heard, valued, seen is so important to the success of any retail store. That's what makes people happy to be in stores. I've always lived by, I want to create a place where people love coming to work every day. And it's really about making it about them, solving their problems quickly, hearing what's on their mind, getting to know them personally and professionally. What are their goals? I think is really important in retail stores that hopefully contributes to that
Yeah.
experience.
For sure.
Well,
Thank you, Benaroya.
thank you.
Thank you so much for being here. I'm Lauren. My question is, so Apple stores are the most profitable retail spaces by square foot, generating more revenue than Tiffany's and Lululemon. As flagship leader, what unique challenges have you faced or have the company faced maintaining this level of success? And then you somewhat touched on it, but what can others learn about the store design, the customer experience, or staffing?
Yeah, love that question. So I think customer journey and how the customer experiences the store is really important. So we analyze everything at Apple Store. So we look at how much time the customer is waiting, how much is the interaction, how long is the interaction, what products, and this, again, in any retail store, we look at how many products is our customer buying, what are we telling them the entire story. The results are the score. So the score tells us what we need to do better and improve upon. And as a flagship leader, we're always looking at that, constantly looking at ways to improve the experience. I spend a lot of time on the floor. I love being in the store. I love being on the floor. I love asking customers. Sometimes I get a little too much information. But it's really what helps us continue to be better. Mr. Lauren used to come into stores. He still does, but when I was there, he would drive by Madison Avenue on his way home, and I would get the call saying, he's gonna pop in. So I would get right to the front door and I'd walk with him, and he's so kind and so gracious, and he would always ask the question. This is why I love working for the founder of a company. What are we missing? What do we need to do differently? And this is what I learned on how to improve the customer experience. What do they say? Get to know the customer as much as you can. Listen to them. Hear what they want. Because customer needs have changed. They constantly change. Employee needs have changed. Pre-COVID, during COVID, post-COVID. Every year things are changing. And so the more that we get to know what our customers want, and by being with them and hearing them, and we also have customer surveys we look at too, but I don't want to wait for the survey to come out. I want to be there. I want to hear. I want to watch what's going on. And so, you walk into an Apple store. Are you greeted? Do you know? It's hard to find, hard to navigate. We also have to have, I think any store has to have similar things in place. So for example, I just walked into a Zara store and I had to return something. And so I walk in, I knew exactly where to go and I knew exactly what I needed to have. But then, it says it in their communication. If you need to return, here's where you need to go. That's really important for the customer to have a great experience and keep them loyal. And so I think in an Apple store, it's important. I think, I can't give all the secrets away about the sales per square foot and what we're selling. And yes, I've read that too. I knew it when I joined Apple. I thought it was really impressive that they exceeded some of these amazing established retailers. And I'm always blown away about what our Fifth Avenue store does, 24 hours a day. And that was also Steve Jobs' vision, to be the store that never sleeps in a city that never sleeps. Now they sleep post-COVID now, but we're still open because people have things that they need to do. So we want to be there for the customer. We want to be a community. I think being a place where people love to come and hang out and feel welcome, I think is what keeps people coming back. And increasing your visit time, I think, is really important. How often does the customer come back? When do they need to come back? And maybe they don't need to upgrade their phone every year, but there are new products that are being launched. I was recently listening to our Q1 earnings call, which always has great information too. that was talking about the way we look at margins and when we're launching products and how we're overlapping some products to offset some of the margin shifts in products. And so I think looking at that routinely annually when you're offsetting, because in retail, it's all about comping and your year-over-year growth. And so when you're looking at these decisions, when you launch product is really important.
Thank you.
Thanks very much, yeah.
Thank you for joining us today in the school. My name is Jessica Mullen.
You didn't mind Missy.
Missy. So Apple's retail stores generate $5,546 per square foot, the highest in the industry, and use mock-ups to test layouts before launch. How does Apple decide merchandising aspects like product placement and store design? Is this driven by customer data and research or more by brand aesthetics?
Yeah, I think it's a balance of both. And I think that, again, it's with the customer, how the customer navigates, our stores and most of our recent stores over the last 5 years, you've probably seen are very reflective of the community. So I've been based in the Upper East Side store for over 8.5 years. So it has that Beaux-Arts influence on the outside, and it's a beautiful addition to the community. And it was an opening that was from early 1900s. So the building has been restored, and the store brought out some of the original elements. So that I think when we look at store design, that's part of the brand perspective and brand integrity is how we stay true to what's in that building. And I think you look at some of the stores in Dubai, Singapore, I think Singapore has the floating one, I believe, but all a beautiful place to invite people to come and explore, but also understand the community. And in some of our bigger stores in Fifth Avenue, Soho, Williamsburg, we have theater space in there. And so we bring people that can come do events that also connect more people to the brand that we may not have. I mean, recently I did an event in Soho. I hosted a volunteer founder there. So, and he brought so many people from his network that hadn't really been in that Apple store before. So I think that when we design stores, it's designed to be this community place and a beautiful place. And the minimalism, going back to the minimalism, is really important. So the customer can see exactly what we have, interact with the product, and experience the product in multiple ways. So whether it be today at Apple sessions, we also do field trips for schools and group sessions too. So they become this place where people come to learn, become inspired, discover their passions, and then we purchase some products.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hey, I'm Dennis. Thank you for joining us today.
Wait, so what was your favorite part of the demo in the Apple Vision Pro?
So I recently discovered my passion for NBA site like court tickets,
Yes.
and that's how it's like.
Yeah, it's like you're at the front row. Yes.
It was,
Go next.
Yeah, hopefully.
Hopefully.
Yesterday.
No, I hope it gets better.
So my question is about the challenges that Apple's been facing recently. So Apple has been fined over $600 million globally for issues related to slowing older iPhones, with performance drops of up to 58% reported after updates. While Apple claims this preserves battery life, critics argue it pressures consumers to upgrade unnecessarily. How does Apple train teams to overcome some of this sentiment?
Such a great question, and there's a lot I can't comment on that. But I know there's a lot out there. I have people tell me this all the time when I'm at events or at a dinner party. I get asked these questions, and so I can't speak to that. But a lot of times our team members let's talk about the positive things and the features that are on the device. And so we don't want, I don't want people to think that we're making them upgrade and people can choose to upgrade. It's not, they don't have to. But we like to talk about, we train on how to overcome some of those objections through how we're talking about the devices and how they can use the devices in different ways. And yeah, the home button's no longer on the phones anymore. And so we have people that still come in with the home button on their phone. And we have people very upset about that. And so we do pass the feedback along. And I think that's also the beauty of Apple is that they want to hear the feedback of what customers are saying. And I think you see some of the software updates come through that have addressed some of the issues that we've brought forward. But, I think our teams are, whether they direct it to the media hotline or the appropriate people, some of those questions, we do like to talk about what our products do offer and so much that is in the device that people don't even know about. The accessibility options that are in there, the features that are going to help them live a more enriched life. So yeah, I think that's how we try to tell our team members to talk through it. I mean, so many companies have with the age of being a global economy and everything's on social media, every company deals with something that's going to have a negative sentiment to it. And so it's really important that your employees know how to overcome those and talk about it. Yes, we talk about it. I think, the tariffs is another one. I think we have team members asking about that or customers coming in and asking about that. Well, we don't have all the answers. We can only help them make an educated decision with their purchasing choice through everything that's offered and what's important to them. And also what they may not even know that they need. So, yeah.
Hi, I'm Danielle. Thank you so much for being here. So my question to you is, with China facing high tariffs, Apple plans
Good
to
segue.
Apple plans to produce 10 million more iPhones in India this year to cover 50% of US demand. How could Apple's US retail team adapt to potential cost increases?
Yeah, I think this goes back to the value of the iPhones and talking about all the features that are in the iPhone that people may not be aware of and the service that they're receiving. And so Apple Store has become a place where people can come and just learn how to use their devices to the fullest. And there's so many services that we offer that I think that's really important to share and could offset some of that. I think that, it's interesting. I think also, Apple did announce the $500 billion investment in the US and how we're creating more jobs. And we're bringing a lot of jobs to New York. There's a lot of jobs that are being posted right now, which is really exciting. And so I think that, sorry, I just got off topic, but it just makes me think back to people invest in companies that they want to see grow. And so when people invest in products that they believe in, and I think that's where our teams have to be talking about that in stores. I also think, finding out some of that a lot of people don't know they can trade in their devices and there's trade-in value. And in fact, right now, this week, there's a recycling with its birthday today. And so customers can recycle products, bring in technology that could be recycled and receive 10% off a product. And so I think there's things where Apple looks at making decisions that are for going to help people and for the good of the people. I think that they're always looking for ways to support in that. And I think that's where our team members, it's important they're educating our customers and all that. And they have to know a lot. We were just talking about this yesterday. I was at FIT yesterday and we're going to be doing an Apple Vision Pro briefing for many of their professors. So then get them connected with you too. They do it at our offices. And so with that, I think that people aren't aware of even that product. You don't even need a monitor when you're using the Apple Vision Pro. You don't even need your iPhone anymore if you have the Apple Vision Pro. And so I think Apple is a very visionary company that's always looking for ways to offset some of these things, these headwinds, and you know, working for Tim Cook, if you follow all of everything he's done over the last, and he's been CEO now, always thinking 5 years ahead. And so I think there's things that he's implemented that can offset some of this. And going in countries like India or forward thinking like that, looking at it, we just announced we're gonna be going into Saudi Arabia and launching our online store in Saudi Arabia. And so building partnerships and relationships build really important.
Hi, I'm Sheetal. Thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to ask the question. So follow up to Daniel's question, and you've mentioned earlier about the $500 billion investment. Over 4 years, including 20,000 new jobs and doubling its manufacture fund to $10 billion. How does this investment impact Apple's strategy, particularly in adapting to challenges like risking laboring costs and evolving consumer expectations in 2025?
Yeah, so I can share what's on apple.com, and I think that this investment is, and we talk about this too in our earnings call, our major investments are around R&D. We're always looking to be innovative, and I think always listening to what our customers want, what the customers needs. I think we're looking at, I think it also talks about investing in data centers and data centers with renewable energy, which will cut costs tremendously. And so, you know, I think that what was the last part of the question about the consumer?
How will it impact the Apple strategy, particularly in adapting to challenges like risking labor costs and evolving consumer expectations?
Yeah. I think that we're always looking at, well, I can say too, during COVID, we didn't lay off one person. You know, we're always looking to offset expenses somewhere to protect our teams, and we may make decisions that are going to be conservative in the moment and maybe not add jobs so that we can protect the jobs that exist. And I think any company should be doing that, and how we're making smart decisions with hiring and not growing too fast. And I think in this investment in the US, it's you know, Tim talks about this innovation, and there's going to be a tremendous amount of innovation that's happening in this country, I think, over the next 5 years. And I think we're going to be part of that story.
Hi, my name is Hunter McDonald. Thank you so much for being here. So my question is kind of two-part, but my first part is during your time at Ralph Lauren, a brand known obviously for retail innovation, what key lessons did you learn about enhancing customer experience and driving transformation? So that's the first part. And then the second part is how have those experiences influenced your approach to leading Apple's flagship stores?
Yeah. So thank you so much. I think with Ralph Lauren, you know, working for the founder and having him around and being so involved was one of the highlights of my career. And I remember when I was invited to run the Madison Avenue store, the women's store, it opened in 2010. And we opened and launched that store. My first meeting with him, he said, I want to be known. Yes, it's the premier women's American luxury designer, but I want this store to be the best store in New York City, better than who does it the best right now, which was at the time Bergdorf Goodman. And so when I started and we opened that store, every weekend I was at Bergdorf Goodman, watching, paying attention, studying what they did. And we brought it to life into our stores and more. And again, being involved in the store, being with customers, listening to our team, having team meetings, paying attention to customer feedback was really important. And about 3 years later, the Bergdorf Goodman CEO spoke at the WWD CEO Summit and talked about how he had every person that onboarded in that year go to the Ralph Lauren Madison Avenue flagship store. And I was told that I was in tears and I was like, wow, that is really, really amazing to hear. And so, you know, we had it was the headquarters from the store was 10 blocks away. And so every week we would have somebody in the store from merchandising, planning, HR, legal, design, everything. And so we had to manage that as a flagship leader. They all want to be your priority. They all would come in, well, why is it, and because we had women's home, fine jewelry, vintage and antique, and then kids and baby as well. Why isn't this product here? Why isn't that product up front? And so I had to manage the expectations while also maintaining my relationship with them because it was important that we had that product. Because I knew that product, whatever we had, was gonna help us make our sales goals. And so I think that that's leadership is balancing these business relationships while also ensuring our teams were knowledgeable, and we had to be innovative in how we trained our teams. So we had the design team come and present the product and talk about their inspiration for the product. We had Mr. Lauren in the store quite often. We had team, I was so fortunate to attend a design meeting, and I said, I want team members to attend these design meetings. How was it started? Because at Ralph Lauren, it was about the story. It's about getting the customer into the dream. And Mr. Lauren talks about that, of how he has created the dream and how do you enter that dream and help people be part of that dream. And so that's storytelling is a critical skill as a leader. And I am constantly trying to develop that. And I study some of our great storytellers at Apple, Steve Jobs, Tim Cook. We work for some great storytellers, and of course, Mr. Lauren. And so that's what I had to incorporate into my leadership skills. I'm still working on it. I don't know if I'm there, but that's I've studied that a lot. That's how my leadership has evolved. And also just today, what's really important to team members is how they feel when they come to work. Do they feel heard? Do they feel seen? Do they feel like they can have that work-life balance? And so we do whatever we can to ensure that and cared for. And so, benefits is really important. What you offer as a company, what benefits you offer for wellness. There's so much that's happening outside of their work life, their personal life, that can subconsciously impact their lives at work. And so how do you create a place that offers a place for people's mental well-being today too, I think is important. So,
Thank you so much.
thank you.
Thank you for being here. Apple's planning to open or revamp stores globally, and as a follow-up to Lauren's question, do you have any tips on store design for existing spaces that could benefit for both small businesses and large retailers?
Yes, so great question. So store design, I think immersive is really important today. How you create a place that's experiential so people can interact with the product, and then having great people that know how to make people feel welcome and how you personalize the experience for them. It was, I think that also how stores share their core foundation. So I was talking about Zara, not a luxury brand, but a successful brand. Right there at that line that I was in, they have these recyclable bags that you can purchase, that you can use for carrying your product out or using your product. And it says to me, and I know that they launched their reuse and recycle program too. So it says to me that sustainability is really important to them. So I think in store design, how you share with your customer what your core values are and what your foundation is really important. They have a beautiful imagery on the back too that shows that people from all colors, size, everything, age, that makes people feel welcome. And so how you can do that, how you can tell your story in that way, I think is really important. I love clean stores. I love also stores that represent the community that they're in.
Yeah.
And I think any way where you can implement some sort of what's a photographic. I was just in Lisbon, Portugal. Also, I was just in Senegal 2 weeks ago, and wow, what an experience that was! to see how they're doing, how they're creating spaces and experiences for people. And Lisbon especially, theirs our store was very different. This is our store. Theirs our store was very different than what we have here, but beautiful. And I think their space has to be just a place where people want to stay, and what's gonna make people want to stay. I think, Ralph introduced the coffee bar. It's the longest line in the city now. You can't, has anybody done the Ralph Coffee Bar at the store?
Yeah.
How long did you wait? It is so long. It's one of the most photographed places, and anywhere I love it for Madison Avenue, and it's great. And so I think that's what is building loyalty. So how do you create products that are going to get people into your products as well? And fragrance, candles, aspirational products that maybe they can't get at that $2,500 handbag, but how can they begin to build their relationship with the brand?
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
does that answer the question?
definitely. Yeah, that was great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for the time to join us today. So my question is, well, as you mentioned in the very beginning, after 25 years leadership experience across Gap and Buffer and Apple, what pivotal moments shaped your path to leadership, and how do you develop future leaders within top teams?
Yeah, so I was very lucky early on. I worked for some amazing people in my career that really took me under their wing and taught me everything, and really launched my career and made me want to join the companies that I did. And so as I moved through my career, I wanted to give that back. And so being a leader today I like to be a servant leader, and I like to be a leader that wants to help people's dreams come true. And so it's important for me to understand people's goals in life, whether it be the company that I'm with or outside. And so I like to provide an ability to create access for everybody to grow their careers and do what they want to do. And so I love to give back. I support, we have a mentorship program at Apple where I do mentorship outside of Apple. In fact, I joined Micro Mentors, which is a group of mentors globally, and I'm still in contact with many of the people that I've mentored along the way. But servant leadership, I think, is really important today. And so, I also work. My father is an entrepreneur my father came from nothing. He was picking tobacco on tobacco farms. Okay, that's all he is. He was the youngest of 11. Only one that went to college, started his own business, and made some really smart decisions in his life. And so he's taught me to also give back. And so I think that that's something that I really look to do as a leader. And when people, the reason why I went to Senegal was because somebody I hired over 29 years ago at Banana Republic. She was from Senegal. 2 months later, after I hired her, she told me she was pregnant. She had a baby, and I've stayed in touch with her. The baby, I'm her godmother, and the baby's godmother. And I was there when she was born. She was born in the same hospital I was born, with the same medical team that delivered me. And we've stayed in contact over years. And so I went back to Senegal, the woman that I hired. She went back to Senegal, and she wanted to give back to her home country, and she opened a hotel there. She's the first and only female Senegalese person that owns a hotel in Senegal. And so I finally said yes to going there to visit her. And she's an icon in this country. And I had no idea some of the stories that she learned from our time together early on that have forged her leadership. So the people that are on her team, she's hired 80% of her team as women. And they were all speaking, well, we have translators, so they speak Wolof and French, and talking to me about what Swati learned from our experience together to create this experience. She's opening up her second hotel now. Her daughter is now 28 years old and is thriving. And to see this experience really, it was a full circle moment for me. I had no idea. I said, we were just in our early 20s. We didn't know what we were doing. But somehow we did, and look what's become. And so I couldn't be more proud. So those are the moments where I am so touched. I was crying the whole time I was there. And to see that country through somebody that is so iconic and that has built so much, it was really, really special. You don't know these interactions that you have with people throughout your career, that what it could lead to. And so her older sister was like, you made her feel seen. And I had no clue what that could lead to. And a tiny little bit of investment that could be what it could mean. So yeah, that was like a personal moment for me, but yeah, it was really special.
Before we go to the next question, yeah, would you go ahead and share the screen again? So we want to look, net, I've learned so much today, right?
Really?
With all the tips that you're giving us. So what we're going to ask you to do right when this finishes is you're going to get an email, right? And we would like to hear what you learned today, right? And whatever you write will be posted tomorrow and edited. So it gives you a great chance. You go to the next, keep going, and I'll show them. So that will be the email that you get. But in addition to that, if we go to the next, next week, next Tuesday, but at 3 p.m. in this same room, we have a CFO for American Express. It's the exact same deal, right? So you ask the questions, all the questions come from you, tell a friend, bring a friend, and so on. And then we move to the next one. And now Audrey, yeah, come on in. So Audrey is going to ask the last question, and you can take a look at this. Yeah, come on in. This is a list in green of companies that do hire international students, and Apple is one of them. And in red on the other one, on the other side, the ones which don't, right? So yeah. So all our guests on the green side, they're shocked. So we can stop sharing. Good, thanks. And then Audrey, it's all yours.
Yeah, hi. Yeah, thank you for coming here today. I'm Audrey. Yeah, and yeah, I just have some questions about international students. Like, I'm an international student, so like, does Apple hire international students, and how does Apple value the continuing contribution of international students to brand strength?
Oh my gosh, it's absolutely, they do.
Yeah.
And so we love perspective from people from all experiences and all countries. And you look at some of the countries where we expanded to. Yes, we took Apple team members there to teach them about culture and the brand, but we also need people in those countries to teach us about the countries and the culture in those countries. I think it's absolutely critical. I think it is one of the core tenets, core values of Apple is that we are an inclusive environment, that everybody's perspective matters. And I think it helps any global company. It's so critical to have international perspectives and thoughts and suggestions and ideas and talents to help us be better in many different countries across the world. And even in the US, I think it's important to help us. I'm sure as we're developing products, it's important to get different perspectives to make the products even better, to make the experience even better. I think there are talents from, specific talents that people may have in different countries that we don't have here. So absolutely, it's really important to the success and the growth for any organization to support that.
Thank you.
Right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I believe I talked about it. I didn't even talk about AI at all.
Yeah. So there are some people that I would like to thank thank you personally. And so this is a real class. It's not an event. The students in this class did everything. So I would like to thank Kira, for coordinating everything. Gabriela is eating a bit back there, and Zoe, they made the film that we're going to show you next. So thank you very much. And then if you want to help with the promotion, people like Faye and everyone else, thank you very much for doing it. I'm very sure that now we go ahead and we show this film that the students made for you. So we hope you enjoy it.
Professor, did you add it at the?
It'll be on the desktop.
It'll be on the desktop. Okay.
We minimize that. we'll have to share
Was
it.
it shot on iPhone?
This one?
Yeah, yes, it was, yeah. So
Spatial audio, spatial video?
I think. And we want to share the screen too. So,
I can't share the screen at the same time.
mm,
It won't do the door opening. Yeah.
Oh, it's okay. Hold on, let me stop this. So we can have that as well. They can see it. Oh,
Oh,
I
you
see.
can share.
Yeah, let's try it from here. And then the movie was here, right? Okie dokie. So let's
You
try
can
to
start.
turn on.
It's on.
During the live finance for marketing class at NYU School of Professional Studies. In our class, we select a Fortune 500 company to learn about finance by making decisions on pricing, headcount, marketing, and profitability. CFOs and CMOs from Disney, Coca-Cola, and McDonald's have joined us to respond to questions from the audience. All speaker sessions are free and open to everyone. And today, over 50 students got together to say that the media and full recommended creation and I am this question pandemic. We're grateful for this opportunity at school. To New York,
Yeah.
Pakistan, Congo, Philippines, Thailand, and Uganda, Texas, California, Philippines, New Jersey, Korea, Cuba.
We should do this for.
Gracias, señora. Daniel and Missy. Here's their phone.